is obscenity. All right, who can give me a definition, your own definition, not examples, of what obscenity is? Chase.
Things that are obscene.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay, a little bit more specific. You're not wrong, obviously, but you're using the word in the definition.
Something that is just socially unacceptable to do or say.
I like that. I think you're on the right path. You're on the right path for certain.
Beyond normal standards.
Beyond normal standards so is it a form of communication or express? Could you say it's a form of expression?
Yes.
Is it protected by the First Amendment?
No.
Correct. It is not. It is a form of expression not protected by the First Amendment. So we got to figure out how did we get to where it's not protected, because obviously we had to have some definitions and some cases that had to determine whether something was obscene or was not obscene. Okay? So whose definition was used initially? When the Founding Fathers made the Constitution, how did we get from, we the people of the United States to, hey, this is no longer protected language? So the first test actually came in a Supreme Court case called Roth versus the United States in 1957.
I was about to write 1900.
1957, 1957. And in this case, basically a man by the name of Roth, he owned a dirty bookstore. And in an effort to advertise for his dirty bookstore, he mailed out flyers. Advertising his dirty bookstore, and the flyers contained what many people would consider inappropriate material. So you can imagine, little Johnny, your son or daughter, you send them into the post office to get the mail, and boy, what a shock they get when they look at the flyer of naked people doing things that, they'd never seen before. Well, is that okay? Can he do that? According to Roth, what's he doing? He's just advertising. I get junk in the mail all the time today, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
I bet I got junk in my mailbox right now, like the thing you scratch off and you win a brand new car, and then you show up at the dealership and they're like, this is too far, So that's the first test of obscenity. Okay, so he was just mailing this obscene material, pornography, in the mail. Okay, like people weren't asking for it. He just sent it out for advertising purposes. Well, a lot of people were upset by this, and so he's sued essentially, and it goes all the way to the Supreme Court. And this is what the Supreme Court says. They provide a definition of what obscenity is. That's the purpose of this Supreme Court case. And their definition is that they define obscenity as material that, when taken as a whole, appeals to the prurient interest. Prurient interest. P-R-U-R-I-E-N-T. Prurient. Do you guys know what the word prurient means? Anybody? It means something that appeals to cause desire or a lustful longing. Prurient. Unnatural. Okay? If it appeals to the prurient interest.
So like sex appeal.
If it causes lustful thoughts or desires. So, yeah.
So why is like sex appeal that's used in commercials and whatnot still okay?
This is not the only Supreme Court case.
Oh.
This is 1957. This is Leave It to Beaver, guys. This is, Ricky and Lucy still sleep in different beds on television. Okay? It's a different time period. Okay? So, What do you think about this definition? Is it going to work? Obviously not. I've already told you there's several more cases. It's not going to work. Why?
Because it changes, it's ever changing, because people always have a different view of what's okay and what's publicly acceptable.
What is prurient to me likely to be prurient to everybody? No. No, I may see really horrible. I was in New York. I went to a museum, and the particular exhibitor had an exhibit going on where he was a countercultural type of artist, and he had created this beautiful statue. And on the statue had his hand out like this, okay? And in the hand was a jar of urine with a crucifix in it upside down.
I've seen that. I've seen the picture.
Okay? Might that be obscene to some people?
Yeah.
Might that be obscene to nobody?
Yeah.
So this is kind of where we are, all right? So it's not always going to be the same, regardless of where you are. So if we use Roth's definition, which according to Roth's definition, the statue with the crucifix, that would be obscene by that definition. So, but the test proved unworkable because not everybody's going to agree on what is and is not obscene. Okay? Period. So it's not going to work. So another thing Roth does is that Roth is also the case that says if something is obscene, it's not protected by the First Amendment. All right? It's not protected by the First Amendment. So a few years later, in a Supreme Court case called Miller versus California in 1973. Once again, his was not a dirty bookstore. His was a shop. An adult shop. And once again, he mailed advertisements to people. And in this case, the Supreme Court rules that there cannot really be a federal standard for what is obscene. We need to narrow it down to the local level. This allows for jurisdictions to determine what is offensive and what is not. Because let's face it, things that are obscene in Beckley may not be obscene in Las Vegas, Nevada. It still doesn't work because it's too vague. It still doesn't work because it's too vague. So the Supreme Court has to then go a little bit further in their definition of what is obscene. And they set 3 criteria tests. There are 3 criteria tests to determine what is obscene. First, if the average person in a community would find it offensive. That's the first criteria. There's 3 criteria. If the first criteria, if the average person in the community would find it obscene, already we got problems, right?
That's very vague.
Very vague. If a work depicts offensive sexual conduct.
Well, what's offensive to one person might not be offensive to somebody else.
That is a fact.
What was the second one?
If the work depicts offensive sexual conduct. Okay, part 2 to the second criteria. If a work depicts excretory functions, going to the bathroom, it is offensive, obscene. You couldn't even talk about using the bathroom on television until the 70s, maybe even the 80s. You couldn't even talk about like passing gas.
Really?
Okay. So if the final one, if the work lacks if the work lacks literary, artistic, political, or scientific value. If a work lacks literary, artistic, political, or scientific value. Literary, artistic, political, or scientific value.
Artistic's like the bad one there, because art is like everywhere.
It is everywhere. And that's probably okay. Art is art. I don't want to limit a person's creativity, I guess. Scientific, obviously, you guys got your health book, you open it up, you can see pictures of naked stuff in there, and it's of scientific value, right?
Yeah.
Okay. But what did not exist in 1973?
TV.
Internet.
The internet.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that the internet breaks all of this.
And messes it up.
Breaks all of it. Can a 5-year-old look at pornography if they really want to?
Yes.
Yes.
They can do it in school if they want to.
Come in.
God, it's petrifying.
What do you want?
I want you to tell me that person's name because she had that last time. That's not cool.
What person's?
That J name.
Oh.
You know what I mean? You scared me. I'm having a palpitation.
I scared you.
Yeah, when you said come in, it was very violent.
Be afraid. Okay. Are you guys afraid?
No.
No.
Okay, good. Just said come in.
I'm more scared by how vague some of the laws that are put in place are.
How about that? Now, when it comes to the internet, in 1996, the government created, the Congress created this thing called the Communications Decency Act, which put regulations as to how obscene material is transmitted on the internet. It is illegal for someone under the age of 18 to view or post obscene material. And it is also against the law to have it made available in a way that is easy for someone under the age of 18. I would imagine that this law is largely overlooked.
Very much.
What's it called again?
The Communication Decency Act.
They spell decency.
D-E-C-E-N-C-Y.
Oh,
Decency. No. Could be a silent S in there, or a spoken S even.
or a Z.
Unlikely.
Decency.
All right. Questions about obscenity. Let's talk about Jesus.
Yes, sir.
Wow, that really
Do
took
it.
a turn.
Yeah, I always feel like I need to after doing obscenity stuff. Feel icky. Freedom of religion. We're not talking about Jesus. We're talking about religion. Freedom of religion is found where? In the Constitution?
First Amendment.
The First Amendment. However, it contains two parts. It is not just one thing. First Amendment says that Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion. That's the Establishment Clause. Or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. That is the Free Exercise Clause. There are two parts to your freedom of religion, which you have. You have. And I have. We all have. The Establishment Clause says government may not favor one religion over another. They can't pick and choose sides. And it cannot literally establish a religion like, the King of England did, the Anglican Church. The United States of America cannot create religion. Also, it maintains a wall between the separation of church and state.
I got a question.
Yes, sir.
So why is it, if the government cannot favor any one religion,
Correct.
why is it during the inauguration they have the president put their hand on the Bible?
Well, that's the question.
Tradition.
Alright.
Tradition.
Could they just deny doing it if they didn't want to?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that one, the congresswoman swore it under the Constitution instead of sworn under the law. Oh, so you
Tradition.
could just-
Okay.
Okay.
In court, they give you the Bible, but whenever, like, it's not so much the laying of the hand on the Bible, it's the saying, yes, I will tell the truth, is the oath, okay? You know, you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. That's, you know, the answer to that is what matters, not the laying of the hand. In the eyes of the government. Yes, Chase.
What about devil worshippers? Don't they like do sacrifices?
No, Chase. No, this is a medieval time.
Lots of religions do sacrifices, Chase.
Like, yeah, I know, but would it still be protected if it's harming other people?
No.
What are some of the religions that are like depicted right there by those pictures? Like, I don't really know what any of those are.
Okay, this is a pagan symbol, a star.
Okay.
It's called a pentagram. Nature, what loving. Okay.
That's witchcraft.
A little witch, also known as witchcraft. This is a Hindu symbol. It means Om.
Really?
That's what it means.
That actually means
That's what that means. This is the crescent moon and the star.
Islam, right?
Islam, right? The cross. Christianity. This is like a Celtic tribal religion, I
So
believe.
like, Norse, I guess.
Yeah.
is that Buddha?
Buddhism.
Yeah.
Buddhism.
And yin and yang.
This is the
I don't know if that means
Tao Te Ching or something like that. I Ching. Harmony, darkness and light.
and chi,
Say again.
chi,
Chi. Yep.
energy.
Energy.
Everything has a
Okay.
soul.
So, yeah, good question.
We was talking about it earlier, we declared that Buddhism isn't actually a religion.
Buddhism is a philosophy
Yeah.
because there's no God in.
You know where I learned it from? Sixth grade. In ninth grade.
Yeah.
Okay.
Buddhism is a philosophy.
Never forgot it.
You don't. Buddhists do not worship Buddha.
Yeah.
Their goal is to be a Buddha. The word Buddha simply means enlightened one, and Siddhartha Gautama was the first Buddha. Okay. All right. So back to America. Not that there's not Buddhists in America, but all right. So you get the Establishment Clause, which says government can't establish religion, can't support religion. We have the separation of church and state. But as you guys, I'm sure, are thinking in your mind, are there instances of entanglement where we have, violations of this Establishment Clause?
Surely.
Without a doubt. Like a school can be a private school and get some grant money from the government to purchase textbooks, but they can't get any money to pay the teachers. So like a Christian school can receive money, like grants from the government to purchase textbooks, but they can't pay the teachers. Why? What's the difference?
No idea.
Well, the textbooks are secular. They're not going to say, about Jesusaurus Rexes. They're not going to talk about that. Okay? But the teacher might. So that they're allowed to purchase the secular book, but they're not allowed to pay the secular teacher with government money. Kind of a fine line, isn't it? Yeah, kind of a fine line. So, and you guys looked at like Yoder versus Wisconsin. Tell me what about Yoder in Wisconsin.
It was the
They
Amish.
believe that it's against religion.
That's right.
to go to high school.
That's right. Amish guy said, I don't want to go to school. It's against my religion. It's not that he didn't want to go to school. He said, I'm needed elsewhere by my family, and the reason for that is because of my religious beliefs. And what did the court say about that?
They said that he just had to go to 8th grade and after that.
That's right. They upheld his First Amendment right to freedom of religion. Okay? All right, so what about the free exercise clause? How is it different than the establishment clause?
You can express it however.
Yeah, the government is prohibited from interfering with your exercise of religion, and you're free to hold any religious beliefs that you choose. People are allowed to believe whatever they want, but you can't always act on your beliefs. You can believe anything you want. You can believe that drinking the blood of a
Yeah.
virgin will give you everlasting life. But you better not kill a virgin to get it. That's against the law. Or anyone for that matter. Okay? You can believe it, but you can't always act on it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you can practice it all the way up until it infringes upon somebody else's right.
Pretty much.
essentially?
Pretty much. All right, what about this? What if, God forbid, what if my son comes down with a horrible disease? And, let's say I have religious beliefs. I do not have any religious beliefs. But let's say I have religious beliefs that do not allow me to seek modern medicine. That I only believe in the power of prayer. And my son comes down with a very serious disease, and all he needs is a shot of medicine, and the disease will go away.
You could,
But I refuse to take him to the doctor because of my religious beliefs.
Which is-
And so now he's going to die.
technically neglect.
That's child
But
abuse.
because-
Yeah.
Is it child abuse, or am I exercising my right to freedom of religion?
No, because it's child abuse because you can't like it's the same thing with like vaccines. Like we can't go to school if you don't get your
But he's
vaccine.
cared for. I'm praying for him.
Well, that's
No, it's freedom.
Why are
of
you
religion.
laughing? This is my belief.
It's
No,
freedom
it's
of
not.
religion.
It's
That's
not
not the
child.
equivalency of
No,
like
it ain't.
Alexis?
They could take that both ways, honestly.
No,
It
it's
depends on the
dangerous.
person that
Well,
you're
but that's
talking
like
to.
saying
Like, it's
an
mostly.
abortion's okay, like because then you're like, okay, like we're just gonna take a child's life because our life will be
I don't think
better
religious
for it because our religious beliefs
Can
say-
a court order the medical treatment of a child
No, over
to over a parent who has refused for religious reasons to allow treatment?
Yes.
No.
No, they
No.
can't.
They can.
They can't.
They
Yeah.
can.
It's child neglect. That child will die.
They
That's why
can.
They have to fix it.
All right. Now, is it always easy to do?
No.
No, it's very difficult. It's very messy. And then, is it possible, depending upon where you are, a judge may say something totally different?
Yeah, that's what they hold in
Yes, correct. Okay, so just be aware. It's possible. It is possible that the court can order that. Okay, so it's always been a delicate balance between balancing the free exercise and the establishment clause. Okay, and it's tough to balance because a court cannot balance it. All right, for example. Should creationism be taught in public school along with the theory of evolution? Creationism is the idea that, it was all done by God.
Well, no, it's religious.
Yeah, that's one of the-
Yeah, but with a unproved theory.
Well, a theory there is fact in theory, it's just not 100% right.
Right. But is a theory allowed?
Yes, it's proven.
If there's some fact in the theory.
Yeah. So that's.
Creationism is a religious doctrine. The Big Bang Theory or whatever, creationism is a theory, scientific theory. Can you teach them alongside one another?
No.
Say not. That'd be very
Because
hard.
there are tons of different religions that don't believe in it. Therefore, that's favoring
But what
different
about
religions.
people that don't believe it?
Well, let's look at in 1987, the state of Louisiana passed a law saying they are to be taught alongside one another. Is that okay?
I guess so.
I guess.
I mean,
it
I
gives the
think
kids-
at that point, then you have to cover every religion.
Yeah,
really,
that's
and you
what
have to teach them
I'm
all together.
'Cause
Is-
one of the- 'cause
Our
there's-
public is a public school a government institution?
Yes.
Yes, it is. So in saying that we're going to teach this religious doctrine as fact alongside the creation or the evolution theory, is that okay?
No, because it's
No.
establishing the religion.
Yeah, and that's kind of what the court decided. The court stated that creationism is a religious doctrine, not a scientific theory. Thus, it violates what? The Establishment Clause. But what about the parents? The parents that say, this theory of evolution is a bunch of hooey, and I don't want my children learning it. You're violating my free exercise.
Contradictions.
Do you see what I'm talking about?
Yep.
Yeah.
It's difficult to strike a balance. Okay? It's difficult to strike a balance. I think today they just do whatever's in the text and hope for the best, honestly. Unless you get somebody like Mr. McLean, he's totally like one way on this.
Oh my gosh.
All right.
Help me on it.
All right, so religions around America considered this to be a violation of the free exercise clause whenever they, in 1987, when they ruled this, because they felt like their children were being forced to study a theory that contradicted their religious beliefs. So you're always going to see it's difficult to strike a balance between these two clauses, and the government has a tough time. We even talked about, those of you guys that had AP, Scope's monkey trial. This was the 1920s, coming out of the Second Great Awakening, and this Tennessee school teacher was teaching evolution, and he got fined for it by the government, and it became a nationwide phenomenon. This guy's trial. And there's evidence to support both. There really is, and so it's tough. It's just a tough one to do. It's just tough because there's no way to really find the balance and to mitigate it with 100% fairness on either side. There's just no way to do it. Okay? So questions on issues of obscenity, free exercise, and establishment clauses. Okay. Good work today, boys and girls. You can shoot me a message.